Hello and welcome to another cooking lesson by Tom, and this is Daisy. And today we're going to be making
rabbit stew.
That's it, rabbit stew. So do you want to come and stand up on there?
Yeah.
So just to go through some of the ingredients, what I've got here in this bowl is some marinated rabbit that's been chopped up. So it's been chopped up into portions. So some red wine, and I've also added some bay leaves just to give it a bit of seasoning for the flavour there.
I got one and some tomatoes.
So we've also got some chopped tomatoes, as Daisy said. We've got some onions and
carrots.
So two onions, 2 carrots,
Potatoes.
and 2 to 4 potatoes. I'm just gently browning it off so that it's just to give it just a little bit of a cook before it then goes into the main pot. And that's getting almost to a point where that's ready to be put into this, what I've got is a Dutch oven, which can be used either on the top as a casserole dish, or you can put it in the oven as well. So now that these have had a bit of a browning off, I don't want to burn them, I don't want to overcook them. I'm just going to place them in the Dutch oven here. But any casserole dish, or however you like it, you can use there. I'm just going to pop that in there, nice and layered. And then I'm going to go through some of the other bits there. So
My sauce pan.
we've got all the rabbit done there. So we're now going to use the same pan that we've used for the browning of the rabbit on to start to fry some of the onion. So we've got 2 onions here, sort of chopped and diced. Just going to pop that in first, and then I'm going to add the carrot in a moment. And we're just going to give that a good gentle sort of frying. So we don't want to burn any of this, we just want to start to let it absorb some of that rabbit juice, get some of that flavour in there. Goodbye, Daisy.
Bye.
And I've lost my assistant now. So this is all frying up nicely. And I'm going to add the carrot. So like I said, that's about 2 carrots. Some people use carrots, some people don't. Some people use potatoes, some people don't. There's lots of different variations. It's just a case of seeing which one you like really, and which one sort of suits you. Some people add celery to this as well as a bit of flavour, but we haven't got any, so we're not going to be adding that today. And we're just going to let that start to gently cook there. I'm also going to add some crushed and sort of slightly chopped up garlic. So again, these are quite small, so I've added about sort of 4 or 5. They weren't particularly great garlic bulbs, to be honest. So, but again, with the extra bit of flavour from the garlic olive oil, that should give enough of a flavour in there. And we're just going to let that sort of cook away there. So now that the onions are nicely they're almost starting to sort of just, they're softened, and the smell's quite nice actually now, so that's just right now. So we're now going to add the spices first of all. So we're going to add a teaspoon of mixed spice, and we're also going to add some curry powder. This just gives a bit of extra flavour. Add that. I'm just going to give that a quick stir around, being careful that it doesn't dry out on the base. You don't want anything too strong because you don't want to overpower otherwise you'll lose the flavour of the rabbit. Okay, now we're going to add a tin of chopped tomatoes. Give that a good stir around. And we're also going to add some tomato paste. Now I've got Italian tomato puree with garlic, so again it's just a little bit more garlic because like I said the ones that I've been getting from the shop don't seem to have much flavour, so again a couple of spoonfuls of this, and that will just add to the colour and also the flavour there. And that's coming together very nicely now. So it's quite a thick sauce at this moment in time, but we're going to add some of the red wine that we've been using to marinate the rabbit overnight. So we're going to utilise that. I've also got the liver and the kidneys in here as well, so we'll add all that to the actual pot itself. So I'm just going to pour in some of that sauce. I've got some bay leaves in there as well, that can all go in there. I'm just going to mix all that together before we then add that to the rabbit. Just going to give that a bit of a stir. That's all coming on nicely. And then we're going to add this to the sauce. I'm going to add the potatoes. I'll just get them in a pan just to keep them from going brown. Unfortunately, this pot's not quite as big as I'd need it. These rabbits are actually very large. They're very good. From a local butcher. They're not cheap to get them over here in the UK, but they are very nice. And then we're going to add this sauce. And then once we've added the sauce, we will see how much it covers, and whether or not we need to just add a bit more water there. So I'm going to just add the remaining liquid, about half a bottle of red wine. And I'm going to add the livers and kidney there as well. And again, if you don't like to eat sort of liver and kidney, which I'm not a particular fan of, you can just use it to cook with because it will give extra flavour. And then we're going to just add all of that to there. I'm just about going to get this in here, but this will reduce. And it's already made me really hungry because this smells divine. So when we get to this stage, we can maybe just add a little bit. It's a little bit too sort of dry there, so I'm just going to add a bit more water. Just going to add that to the pan just to get again just a little bit more of the flavour from the pan that we've used. We don't want to waste any of those flavours in there. I'm just going to add enough just to give it there. The benefit of using something like a Dutch oven is that although there's not, it looks like it will be quite dry on the top there, because it's got a very heavy lid, it retains a lot of the moisture, so you don't have to worry too much about it going dry. Just going to add a little bit more. There we go, and that should be fine there. So I'm now going to cook that on the hob this time. I'm going to give it a go. the right one. Just going to pop it on a very low heat. And I'm going to put this nice big lid on it, and it's got one of those lids that has a like a self-basting sort of system, so any moisture that goes on the top it will come back down into the pan. And I'm going to leave that there for about 2 hours to let that rabbit really nicely slowly cook, and also the potato in there as well. So we're just going to leave that now, and we're going to see what it looks like a bit later. So welcome back to the sort of final stage. The stew's now been cooking for about 2 hours. Because of the size of the pot and the fact it was so heavily filled, I decided to actually just put it in the oven for on gas mark 2 for about 2 hours, and the meat has now fallen off the bone. It's absolutely beautifully tender. I forgot to add a bit of salt and pepper when I finished the last bit of recording, so I just, again, a bit of salt and pepper before it started to cook fully. And then what I've done is I've added some marrowfat peas just towards the end, just to finish off there, because they don't need cooking themselves, they're already cooked. So it's just a case of just adding them at the last minute. And I've just added a little bit of gravy granules just to thicken up the sauce. So a simple way to do that is to take some of the sauce out. If it's a little bit too sort of watery for your liking, just take a bit out, add a bit of gravy granules, and then add it back to there, so that you've got a nice, not too thick, but thick enough sauce there, and that sauce is nice there. And like I said, you can see all the rabbit in there, and that's come together really nicely there. So I've now got my spaghetti going, and whilst I was cooking all of that, I made a couple of small loaves of hobs, and this is the end result. As you can see, it's all kind of crackled there, lovely, nice and light piece of bread. So I'll be having that with to accompany my lovely Maltese rabbit, and I hope that's been helpful for you to get an idea of how to cook the traditional Maltese rabbit stew.